Hey everybody, Manny Talaber here. We're now on day 97, and what I'm going to talk to you about for just a few minutes, we're going to talk about courses that you might want to go through if you want to learn about marketing strategy and all of this. You want to learn some things really, really fast. I can tell you, I've been through over 300 courses, might be closer to 400 now, and I've been through a lot of really, really good ones, and I've been through some really, really bad ones. Now, admittedly. Um, the bad courses that I went through, it wasn't that they were necessarily bad. It was just that I was beyond that level already. And unfortunately, you're going to go through some content, and sometimes, like I said, sometimes the people are going to bring the heat and deliver the goods, and sometimes they're not, and you're just going to go through a lot of material. And so, at some point, we may do a video and I'll go over the top 5 or 10, and I might give you those. I do have a post about that in my Facebook group, and I may pull that at some point, print those off, and go through them. But I'm just going to give you some general observations. And this is the thing, if you're a coach, consultant, course creator, if you're helping people to scale, helping people with marketing, helping people with increase, these are really, really going to be really, really valuable for you. And then, like I said, if you're looking for other things, or you're in a different niche, you really want to find the top people in your niche and follow them. But again, I can tell you that no matter what niche you're in, you have to learn marketing, you have to learn strategy, you have to learn some of this stuff, because the money doesn't come from the thing. The money comes from marketing the thing. And it doesn't matter. Like, you can create the best course in any niche out there, and you're not going to make any money if you don't know how to properly market it. If you don't know how to get it in front of people who could possibly give you money for it. And unfortunately, um, you probably know 10 people in your space who are making a lot of money, but they're inferior to what you do. Their content isn't as good as your content, but what they've done is they figured out the marketing piece. And so my advice is, even if you're not in the coaching, consulting, course creation space, if you're trying to sell increase in any way, shape, or form, there's some things that you probably should go through that can really move the needle for you. And so, I'm not going to give you these in any order, because I don't have actual notes. I haven't got anything written down, so I'm just going to go over some of them, and tell you some things that you might go out and take a look at. So, in the consulting space, there are a lot of people you can study. There's probably not that many people any better than Jay Abraham, and I started out studying Jay. I went through like 6,000 hours of his stuff before moving on to other people even. And so I was fortunate that when I got into this space, I got into it because I found an offer for a course by Jay. And when I bought that, I just started consuming all of his stuff, and I consumed a lot of his material. And so, if you're looking at Jay Abraham, any of the proteges in 1989 and 90 are really good. There were like 6 or 7 of them done in like a year and a half there. And those are all really, really good. I can tell you that Jay's material is, there's no fluff and no filler, and no one's pitching anything. Jay was charging $25,000 for these seminars, and he was teaching people how to be marketing consultants, and there was no selling on the stage at all. And so, the protege programs are all very good. And what's interesting is they're generally 4 or 5 days, and they're unedited, and so you're getting 48 or 60 hours of content when you buy those, and you can get a lot of value from them. The first thing I went through was a mastermind by him, and then I immediately got a protege course. I went through it a couple of times, but I've been through all of those proteges. If you can't, that you can find them on eBay, you can find them other places here and there. But like the reunion tapes, the protege reunion, really good. I think that one's about 60 hours. But any of the J proteges are really good. Now the next ones would be, there are a couple by Dan Kennedy. The coaching and consulting boot camp and then the advanced consulting and coaching boot camp for high fee sellers. And they're similar in title. And I think you basically got basically a coaching consulting thing he did in like 2002. And then around 2013 or 14, he did another version, a new version of that. And those are both really, really good. And this is the other thing. You want to go through both of those. So it's not he took what he did in 2002 and kind of rehabbed it in 2014 or 15 whenever he did the second one. It's not like that at all. The content is completely different in those courses. And so like I said, it's the Dan Kennedy, and I think it's called Coaching Consulting Boot Camp is the first one he did in 2002. I think Joe Polish was big on that one. And then the next one he did was the consulting and coaching high fee boot camp, and that one is really, really good. And I learned a lot from those. Now this is the other thing too. You want to learn, so you want to learn marketing, you want to learn mindset, you want to learn strategy, you want to learn copywriting. There's a, like, you got to unpack a lot of this stuff. And what's interesting is I think I said this a few weeks ago somewhere. I don't know if it's on one of these, but what's interesting about all of this is if you take 10 people in the same niche, and those 10 people, they can be all at the same level, as far as income, or they can be very a little bit in income. But what's interesting is every single one of those 10 people might have a different block that's preventing them from going forward. So one person might need help with strategy. Another person might need help with copywriting. Another person might need help with mindset and getting out of his own head and being willing to charge high fees. Another person might just be struggling putting himself out there. And so, like I said, what's interesting is there's, if you talk to any 10 or 20 people, generally they all have a different problem. And so, like I said, that's the reason you're going to go through some things and they're not going to move the needle for you. So if you go through content, and this is really valuable. If you go through a course and you don't get any value from it at all, you should be happy that you're past that level, and it's you just got to move on. So you can't blame the messenger. You can't blame the person who sold you that course and say the course is inferior. Your mindset needs to be that you're just at another level now. And so you're going to do that. You're going to buy things that don't move the needle. And so like that's what you want to think about. Now, the next one I'll talk about, and we'll tell you a little story about it. It's Altitude by Eben Pagan. And so I was buying and selling on eBay, and I was buying and selling on eBay, and I was watching Altitude, and watching the price of Altitude, right? And how courses worked back in the day, it's all different now, of course, but a product would come out and it would be selling for $19.97 by the seller, or $9.97, or whatever that number is. And then after a few months, it would hit eBay and it would start out at like 800. And then as more of them came onto the market, the price would come down. So it'd be 800, then 7, then 6, then 5. And then eventually you could pick up, $2,000 seminars for $100 or $200. And if you really wanted it bad enough, you could pay real money for it, or you could just be patient and wait. And so I was watching all of this go on, and I was watching Altitude, and Altitude hit eBay, and Altitude dropped to around $500, and then it stopped. Wouldn't drop any more than that, and it just stayed $500, $550, $600 for months and months and months, and you couldn't get it for $200. And it's interesting because a friend of mine called, and we traded a lot of material. And I send him stuff, he would send me stuff, and we would swap content and go through it. And he called me one day and he asked me if I wanted Altitude, and my answer was, it's not so much that I want altitude. I want to know why the price has not came down. I want to go through it to figure out why it's stayed at that level for so long. And then when I got the seminar, he sent it to me, and when I got it, I found out the reason immediately. The price wasn't coming down, and the reason was because altitude was just excellent. And it's, you know, if you're selling digitally, if you're selling online, it's really worth going through. It's Eben Pagan. He did it was called Altitude. I don't remember what year he released it, but Eben Pagan started a business called Double Your Dating, and he took that business to like $10 million a year. And after he got to 10 million a year, he decided to create a course to show people all of the intellectual property and everything he did to grow that business from 0 to $10 million. And he released, and Altitude was actually a $10,000 per person seminar. And it was one of the big seminars where a lot of people in our space actually met for the first time. And a lot of these joint ventures, and they called it the syndicate back in the day, all of these people who were working together, selling courses and promoting for each other, they were all at the Altitude seminar, and that's where they met. And so Altitude is really good. It just gives you a lot of insights. And I think that one's well worth taking a look at. And then I'm going through the Frank Kern copywriting boot camp for like the second or third time now, and I can tell you it is really, really good. I got it as a bonus for his email course, and I don't know if it's sold other places or sold with other was packaged somewhere else. I do know the event was done for inner circle or mastermind members, and it was a live event format. But I don't know if it was packaged with anything else. But I can tell you, if you're wanting to learn copywriting, it's well worth going through. I'll be honest with you, copywriting for me is very, very hard to learn. And there are some excellent copywriters out there who aren't as good at teaching it, or I just can't learn from. Everyone talks about Gary Halbert. I'm a huge fan of Halbert, but I just couldn't learn copywriting from listening to him. And so it's like I said, I think sometimes copywriting is attitudinal, and there are a lot of people who can do it, but they just can't really teach it. They can't articulate what it is they're trying to do. But I can tell you that Frank Kern's one of the people who are all an excellent copywriter, but he also teaches it. Another thing is Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham, probably one of the best copywriters ever, but he quit writing copy like way, way early on. And when Jay first started out, I think prior to doing the Entrepreneur magazine, Jay was actually writing copy for people, and he didn't do it a lot, but he did it. He wrote all of his own copy for a period of time, and he wrote for other people. And Jay was an AAA level copywriter, but unfortunately, like I said, he quit doing it, and he never taught it or anything. And so, and another couple of good copywriting courses. Dan Kennedy has a number of copywriting courses. There's one called Influential Writing. I didn't get a lot of value from that. He did a copywriting boot camp, I think in 88 or 89. And that one this day, I probably went through that one 7 or 8 times. That one is really, really good. And like I said, Dan's got a number of them out on copywriting, but those earlier ones seem to be really, really good. And it's something that you might want to look at if you're wanting to improve your copy. And I can tell you one thing that you want to think about, even if you're not going to write your own copy, you need to know what good is. So when someone's writing copy and bringing it to you, you really need to learn copywriting just so you can gauge whether what they're bringing to you is worth going through or not. But we're going to end out. I hope you got some value from this one, and we will see you all on the next video, and thanks a lot.